This is Garis, masculist, MGTOW, flyers. That is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 501, part 2, entitled Feminists Need to Realise They No Longer Have a Monopoly over Gender Politics. Continuing straight on. The masculists want the establishment of gender equality committees in the parliaments consisting half of female feminists and half of male masculists, so that the gender issues of both sexes are treated equally, which is far from being the case today. So when some monoconscious feminist hears the political demands of the masculists and explodes in rage, thinking that men are already privileged and that halving the number of women in the gender equality committees in the parliaments will only be detrimental to women, then the masculist can bite her fucking head off with a very angry, hateful tirade telling her the above masculist ideas, that gender oppression is not a one-way street, and that in fact women oppress men far worse than vice versa, since even rape, which is one of the worst ways that men oppress women, is small beer compared to women's decades-lasting manslaving parasitism. Masculists push hard for the fipping of women, looking with a very cold eye at a potential girlfriend, asking themselves, quote, "Is this woman who is interested in me a fluffy? Is she career competent? Is she going to parasite off me for the rest of her life? Will she drag me off to the hated, fluffy, feminist-controlled divorce court system and rip my kids away from me, expecting me to pay for them and to pay her alimony for life? Fuck that. If she's not what the masculists want in a woman, that is, to be snurf, that's S-N-U-R-F, that is, slim, nurturative, and fip, then I will turn my nose up at her. I have a hatred of fluffies and fluffy feminist hypocrites and absolutely refuse to be manslaved for decades by a hated, bloody, manslaving, parasite, fluffy wife. Masculists claim that many of the gender crimes that women commit against men are continuous and last decades, making them major gender crimes against men. For example, paternity fraud, which in about 5% of pregnancies the husband is not the father, thus forcing the husband to pay for a kid for decades of his life that is not even his. Women pill lie in their millions, lying to their husbands, their boyfriends, that they are taking the pill, but aren't, because quietly they want to get pregnant, then use the law to force him to pay for a kid he never wanted, thus manslaving him for decades. Thus, women commit far greater gender crimes against men than vice versa. So if a monoconscious feminist suffers cognitive dissonance when you, as a biconscious masculist, tell her that gender oppression is a two-way street, and that even rape is small beer in comparison with women's decades-lasting manslavery of men, and gets very angry with you, thinking she has the right to be angry at men for the ways that men oppress women, which is what 6 decades of modern feminism has taught her, then you, as a well-informed, well-intellectually armed masculist, can harangue her back with considerable masculist male anger and hatred, telling her the above, and that since most feminists are heterosexual and hence have monoconscious male feminist boyfriends, then it is in these monoconscious feminists' self-interest to become biconscious, in brackets, by bothering to learn masculist arguments, close brackets, faster, in capital letters, than their monoconscious male feminist boyfriends, since if not, then if her monoconscious male feminist boyfriend becomes a biconscious masculist faster than she becomes a biconscious feminist, then he will start seeing her as a bigot, an MFB, in brackets, that is, a monoconscious feminazi bigot, close brackets, will become disgusted at her and dump her. So if she wants to keep her boyfriend for the companionship and penis he gives her, then she had better bone up fast on masculist ideas, and faster than he does, or she will end up rotting on the shelf. Also, feminists who are biconscious are much less feminazi bitchy, since they have their feminist anger at men for the ways that men oppress women cancelled by her masculist anger at women for the ways that women oppress men. So it's much nicer to men, and hence is much more approachable by men. So she is much more likely to have a boyfriend, unlike the millions of MFBs in today's world, who have made themselves repulsive to men. So in their later decades, end up as cat ladies, swallowing antidepressant drugs to diminish their depression caused by the feeling that they have missed out on life, with no kids and no man in their life to love them, to penis them. Such women, in their millions, are miserable, and deservedly so, since they are MFBs to masculists, so deservedly rot on the shelf. Soon, there will be large numbers of masculists on campus who will challenge the monoconsciousness of the feminists, haranguing them with masculist ideas and frightening women with their superior male aggressiveness, with men's 10 times greater testosterone levels that women have been sexually selecting for thousands of generations, since women in the distant past sexually favoured men who were taller, bigger, stronger, fiercer and smarter than women, so would be better able to defend their woman from other men, and especially male warriors of enemy tribes. So the very qualities that feminists despise in men, for example, their raping of women, their toxicity, their violence, was largely female selected for in the distant past. With millions of young masculists on campus who are well intellectually armed with masculist ideas, they will be able to teach women the lesson that gender oppression is not a one-way street, that women oppress men too, and in fact worse than vice versa, with the decades-lasting man-slaving parasitism of fluffies, and that women will be forced to give up their monopoly over gender politics. Women, feminists, will be forced by the masculists to share the gender political stage with them. And in fact, since the masculists are males, they will quickly dominate that stage, the way men dominate everything, given men's genetic superiority.